be only one podcast, and may it be the Prince of the Universe. Hi, folks. I'm Matt.
I'm Bruce.
And I'm Steve.
Hey, we're at the last book, Memory of Light. Memory of Light. So, what? This is the last one here.
Let me just ask you guys this. Y'all's opinion, was this the best book in the series?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it is.
It's pretty darn close.
But I have no problem. Yeah, I would have no problem. I couldn't argue with anybody that does say that it is the best book.
I mean, the thing is, it was just one huge battle lasting the entire time.
Yes.
But it was fantastic. It definitely was the biggest page turner, the longest book, and the one I finished the quickest.
Wow.
It was one I finished really quick too. I'll be honest. That's why I thought it was. I thought Towers of Midnight was longer just because it took me longer. But this one is the longest. But I agree, it didn't feel like the longest.
No. Well, like you said, it's a big battle. So I mean, it's just punch after punch after punch. There's hardly any downtime. I guess at the beginning when Rand is kind of going around the camp at Marilor, kind of before he travels to Shale Ghul, that would really be the only slow part in my mind. Oh, and maybe some of the traveling with Faile. My feelings about her.
Maybe this might be a little bit jumping to the end, but lots of stuff going on, lots of different battles from all the characters and their perspectives. I would say Rand's final ultimate battle was the least interesting part of the whole book.
Well, let me.
I remember the first time I read that, I was really disappointed with how little he took part in the last battle.
It was just everybody else's parts were so good. I didn't care, but Matt's fighting, Rand fighting the big bad was the least interesting. Them just going through alternate futures was just like, oh, well, let's go back and see what Perrin or Matt's doing. That's more interesting.
Right. Yeah. Rand discovers that Elaine is pregnant. He didn't know that prior to this book.
Right.
I wanted to ask you this one. Perrin has the swirling colors as Matt has the dice rolling in his head, but I don't like the term swirling colors.
Well, they all have the swirling colors.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, I didn't. I
only heard. Doing.
I only
yeah,
when it's Matt, it was the dice rolling in his head.
Colors that
So Matt's seeing colors too. Then I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read that.
Yeah.
I think the only time that they don't see swirling colors when the other is mentioned is when they're in the presence of one of them. So, like when Perrin and Matt are in the woods right outside of is it Barillon or Whitebridge or something like that. This is in the last book, and Matt shows up with the bag that has the badger in it.
Yeah, that was fun.
When they're right next to each other, I don't think that they see swirling colors because they're right there.
I think the swirling colors is the pool, the Severin pool towards each other.
Yeah.
Rand and Moraine reunite, which is nice. We get to see that. We also know that no one ever dies. Because Lanfear, Tom, everyone's back.
There's a lot of people die.
Yeah. Quite a few people die here. But
I'm talking about leading up to it.
One of the big differences between this series and Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones kills. They spread the death through all the books. This waits to the end, and just like a big sigh comes out and just chops all their heads off.
Yeah.
There's very few remaining by the end of this thing.
Yeah.
Right. I was talking about leading up to this book, but I love how it took 3 chapters for all of them to sign a contract to come together for the last battle. It's like, hey, we need to hurry up and just let's do this real quick, and let's just all come to. That was
still fun.
The thing is, I think they should have done that in earlier books.
Yeah.
I just think that it was kind of rushed for this one. Just kind of say, oh, hey, we need this.
The signing of the contracts between all the nations was the previous book. They only had to get the Seanchan to sign this book.
Really? I thought it was a lot more people than that.
No. I mean, the last book ended with the starting of the battles, and the battles were starting when Rand had to go meet with Tuon to get her to sign on.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I do enjoy how dragons aren't really mythological creatures in this book, in this series.
I thought that was a good twist.
No, I liked it. No, I was fine.
Bruce, what did you think of the POVs from Tomas saving Camelin and dying at the same time?
I mean, really, a lot of our side characters had a lot of really good, first off, just battle scenes and then heroic deaths.
Yeah.
The book's full of them.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I mean, every time, even when I was losing characters I was liking, it still didn't hurt me just because it was just constant awesome. It was just so well done. Plus,
and that made sense.
I had a bit of fear when Egwene died. That, they were talking about Balefire and reversing the time. Part of me was scared they were going to get to reverse all the deaths. I'm glad they didn't do that, but I did have a little bit of fear that they would go that way.
That somehow Gollum would come back.
Egwene did the opposite weave to Balefire that created the light and corrected a lot of stuff. I had a fear that he would make it in a way that even a happy ending that didn't need. Okay, the ending was fantastic.
Yes.
I love the open-endedness of the ending. You don't know where the characters are going next. I thought that was really interesting and really cool. It leaves you like any other book in the series has done, where you have an ending, but you don't know what the next chapter is. And that, I thought that was a very interesting, very powerful way to end the book as well.
Yeah.
Well, before I get to the ending, one of my favorite scenes, Rand showing Lanfear all of his thoughts.
Yeah.
That was
opening himself up, doing exactly what she couldn't do.
It was a fantastic scene. That was the scene Steve and I were talking about last time.
Yeah. Man, that was a beautiful scene.
It's a great scene. Her ultimate defeat in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Just wonderful. Matt saves Tuon from the garden assassin, and then as a reward, he gets it on the garden.
Well, he gets to be an exhibitionist.
I'm telling you. He just throw his hand. I love the discussion between Matt and Rand about who's done the most so far.
That was very fun. Very fitting of Matt's character. And even, Rand trying to finish it was just like, dude, I am the Dragon Reborn. And then Matt still has to come back with another comment.
Matt said, I saved Moraine. And then Rand said, I cleansed Sidene. It's just like, I can still one-up you. I love everything about that scene.
Yeah. I think one of the best...
It feels like friends. Like friends.
Yeah. So Perrin and Rand got to have their night of catching up and being buddy-buddy, and it's more serious because that's who Perrin is. He's a very serious character. And so you get to see Rand kind of go back and just be, the old friends catching up type thing, and that was their dynamic. And then you get to see Matt and Rand catch up,
Yeah.
And their dynamic, even though it still takes you back kind of how they would have been buddies in Emmons Field, but it's a different dynamic between the two, and I think that he showed that really well in how they talk to each other, because it was more, like you said, each of them trying to kind of one-up each other, showing that Rand could actually joke around now.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
he was his most mentally prepared to do what he had to do that he's ever been.
Right. I love how Matt can look at the battle and see that Gowan is being affected by the Dark One and is trying to lose the war. I love how he can just tell that just by looking at there, because his knowledge of all the generals.
You mean Gareth Brent?
Was it Gareth Brent? I thought it was Gowan who was controlled by the Dark One.
No, it was all.
No. Well, all the captains
were being controlled, compelled.
Yeah, but the one he knew about was.
Matt only saw Gareth Brent, who was one of the.
Oh, was it Gareth Brent? Huh, that's odd.
Gowan was not leading the battle. He was, and that was one of the reasons that he ran off, was because he felt like he was, kind of being wasted. His talents were being wasted, just kind of guarding Egwene the whole time.
I will say this: Gowan, completely useless character.
Absolutely.
My goodness! And everything he did in this book, it's like, I thought you learned the lesson not to do that in the last book.
Yep.
That was the whole point of your arc in the last book, and you're gonna do this.
Yep.
The thing is, it fits the story. It was great.
It really did fit his character.
But it's like, I never liked you, and you did not win me at the end.
Nope. No, and he very, very well could have caused Egwene's death prematurely. I don't think she did what she had to do, and I don't think that she would have survived it anyway. And I guess there's an argument to be made that she may not have done what she did if Gawain were still alive.
Possibly.
She may not have been willing to go that far and do what she did if he were still alive.
Yeah, so they're all dead. But man, the last battle was chapter 37. Massive. It's a massive chapter.
Oh yeah.
That was a massive chapter. That's like half the book there. I mean, it was great. It was great. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, wow, it's just such a big. I mean, that's what you wanted, right? That's what we've been leading up for.
Yeah. The last battle has been foreshadowed for the entire series, so.
And it was epic, and definitely well deserved, and I do not feel let down by it at all. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I did think that the when the husband read, it was a little bit better, and when the wife read, it wasn't, and I was getting confused on who was who, because they don't read the characters the same, and they were interchanging themselves out a little bit more frequently, I think.
Yeah, I do think that there is a disadvantage to listening to it.
Yeah.
Because there's so much back and forth. But at the same time, if let's say you listen to the whole series and then you decide to read the last one, you may not have the same, because you've been listening to it, you haven't developed the character's speech in your head by that point. So you might end up getting more confused trying to read the last one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little confusing. Bruce, what did you think of Perrin versus Slayer Part 2?
Very nice.
I loved it.
It actually might play into, I read the two short stories from the Unfiltered book series, and that actually is into the one that's now considered non-canon. Because one of the short stories, the first short story is about 30 minutes, and actually is a backstory for Demon Dread when he gets the scepter. When Bale becomes Demon Dread, gains the scepter, becomes powerful, and probably was meant to be part of the prequel or the prelude of the book. That's kind of how it felt. And, overall, not worth your time or effort to get. But, fun to have. The second part that's not considered canon now involved Perrin cleaning the ways and getting rid of...
Really?
Yes. And the thing is, it's actually pretty interesting to listen to. Both, you've got a prelude of Brandon Sanderson talking about the idea behind the story and a postlude of why he and Harriet decided to cut it out and why it can't be canon because they used aspects because, it involved a lot of characters coming together that came together in different ways in the novel because that section was pulled out. But, it was very good, very interesting, involving Perrin and wound up with the Loyal and his people helping clean the ways, and they just felt like it felt like too much of a distraction. They couldn't get it to fit narratively. But it would have involved some of the aspects of him and Slayer and moving into the dream world and back it out. It was supposed to be interwoven with all that, and it was very good. It was a very good short story, though it doesn't really fit into it anymore.
Yeah, that may would have put him almost on the level of Rand cleansing the source.
Yeah,
he cleansed the
way.
He
didn't do it all by himself. I mean, it definitely took the Loyal's people, and it was setting him up because Brandon Sanderson had said in part of the interview about it was that Jordan had left notes that just said Perrin ends at he's a king at the end. Basically, it was just like he knew he had to move Perrin into being a king at the end of the series, and Perrin was moving into the ways. He was taking aspects of all the men that were with him were from all the groups of the world, and they were all able to follow him, and they were becoming friendly with each other because of his leadership. They were learning to respect each other as well, and that was kind of the idea he was trying to do. But it was just, and really listening to it, it was really good. It's a good short story, but it would have been a distraction for the beginning of the book.
Well, see, his character was kind of heading in that direction anyway, because at the end of the last book, he had finally accepted responsibility for all the men that he was leading.
Yeah.
And then, not 3 or 4 chapters later, he's saying, oh, by the way, Tam, you're leading this army because I've got to go do other stuff. And so he spends the entire book fighting Slayer, moving the Dream Spike from the Black Tower and putting it in the cave, and doing all that instead. And I kind of, as much as I like his fight with Slayer and going in and out of the dream world and all that stuff, I still kind of would have liked to see him leading men and stepping into that role.
Yeah, I would say
the way that he had decided to do.
Part of me with the battle with Slayer this time was I almost wish it would have wrapped up before he came out of the realm the first time, because he needed to do something different to finish the book, to be a stronger character. He should have ended the battle sooner so that he could have done more in the real world.
What do y'all think of how not Morden, Mordant, Ordeep, Pot and Fang? What do y'all think of his ending?
Well, being as Rand takes over his body, that was interesting. Not what I was expecting.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I accidentally said Morden. I mean, Pot
say overall his story was muddled through the whole series. It started off big, got bigger, got biggest, disappeared.
Yeah, it wasn't that big a deal for me.
Drawn back with them just, hey, wait, it wasn't the Trollocs that killed your family. It was Paul and Fane. It's like, well, why do we need to bring that up at this point? I felt like even Perrin was complaining about that. It's like, why do I need to know this now or anymore?
Yeah.
And as a reader, I'm like, y'all should have done this books ago. To throw this now, and that was
It was basically exposition.
Yeah.
Just one of those unanswered questions that people had, like, did the Trollocs really do it? Did the White Cloaks do it? Who did it? And it's like, oh, yeah, it was actually Pod and Fane and some of the evil White Cloaks that he had corrupted.
It might have just been some of the disjointedness between Sanderson and Jordan.
Yeah. There was so much to wrap up.
Yeah.
And I think that one could have been left, semi-unanswered. Like you said, it didn't really need to be explained or brought back up. But yeah.
Yeah, and to Bruce's... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you're saying you're being pretty quiet.
Oh, no. I'm just, to Bruce's credit, though, where he says that Rand's battle with the Dark One was kind of, you thought, anticlimactic?
Yeah, for the most part.
I don't see how you end that differently, though.
No, I mean, again, agree. The thing is, first off, I started by saying this book, one of the best books in the series, and one of the best endings of a series.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is all put in the context of that.
Okay.
It's just, that was some of the least interesting things of what was happening in the book was the main battle between, really the big battle going on, especially with Matt and what Matt was doing, was far more interesting than the main battle between the Dark One and Red.
Yeah.
I mean, and really, just like every time anybody questioned what Matt was doing, Matt saw that he was just throwing gambles and putting people in problem. And people were questioning him. And every time they questioned him, they would find out. Well, my favorite was, what's his name? His name Gentry, and he was sent to open a gateway at dawn. And he was hiding behind the rock.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, I just opened the gateway, and those people, those peasants and children, they went and got slaughtered. He was just, why would Matt do that? And
he was
the same people that arrive. And it goes back to 2 books ago, that village that dies every night. They go into this raft. And I'd forgotten about him, wasn't thinking about him. But when that brought in, there was a verbal, laughter outside. That is fantastic. Matt is driving everything he can.
Yeah.
It always works. Just trust. Basically, what this book was about. Just trust Matt.
Mm-hmm. If I remember right, that was a complete Brandon Sanderson edition.
It sounded like it was.
And
the town, everything that happened in that town, Henderstadt, that was all Brandon Sanderson, and then he brought it back to mean something. It was more than just a bubble of evil that continued to affect that town, but he brought it full circle and used it to his advantage.
So every day he can bring out this group of people that can fight and die for him, and just every morning open it back up again. They're back. They can come fight and die again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like how after it's all over, Matt stops hearing the dice rattle in his head.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got a sense of peace myself when I heard that. The dagger melts away.
I like the way it ended. 2-1 says, "Hey, I'm pregnant. I don't need you. I can kill you now." And he's just like, "Well, want to play a game of dice?" And that was like, it's the last you see of Matt in the book, And it's so
Right.
fitting. You don't know where his character's going, what happens to him next. It's a gamble. He is just going to be himself.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're still Taviran or not. We know Rand is. Actually, I'd say Rand's ending was a little weird.
Okay.
It mentions that he does not feel the source. He doesn't have the power. He's not Taviran. He grabs some tobacco. He doesn't have a light, and then it lights.
Yeah.
What's this?
There's a lot of discussion about that.
Okay, so
Here's
something that has to be vague.
Here's my theory on that. And I don't know that anyone else has strictly said this. So if somebody is listening to this later on, you know if somebody else has come up with this and maybe says it better than I do, I'd love to hear that fleshed out more. But my theory is, so whenever he finally realizes what he has to do with the Dark One, he realizes you were never really the enemy. You don't have the ability to give peace. All this that Moradin has been fighting for, you never would have done. So I've got to seal you up completely. And so he pulls the true sword, which is the Dark One's own power, using the flaw through Kalimdor, which Moradin is is holding.
They tricked him into taking that spot.
Yeah. The Siding and Sidar, all three of those. And at that time, he says that he's weaving not earth and fire and spirit and water and all that. He's basically weaving what all that is before it's split into basically the elemental powers or sections of the true source.
Which makes some sense because they were talking about how he's not using earth and fire and wind when he was wrapping up the final battle. The power has always been split in so many ways whenever they describe it, but he was kind of moving out of that during the final battle.
My theory is that he tapped into the original source, the origination of all the different ways to tap into the source.
That's interesting.
And that's what he is still able to tap into at the end, which is somewhat like what Perrin does in the World of Dreams. It's just a thought. All he has to do is say, no, my pipe is lit. And it's lit.
Gotcha. So he's become the Matrix.
Yes, he's Neo.
Yeah, and what...
That's
that
what
makes sense. That makes sense. That's definitely a good one. That makes sense.
Well, okay, so next up, what do you think about Mogadeen? Getting collared at the end there.
That was fun.
That's great, wasn't it? Great ending. All right, absolutely.
She was rising in power.
Everybody else was dying out.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, I am the last. He's the only one. He will feed me all the power because I am the last of his people. And there's a cold collar wrapping around your neck.
Awesome.
It really, it's crazy. Back to book 2, when we first get in the Demani and the Sanshin, that was like the great evil. And at the end of this book series, it's like, oh, it's the ultimate punishment for the people we don't like.
Yeah. Though most of the good guys have said, usually from the perspective of any one of the Aes Sedai, especially Egwene, would say that they would never subject anyone to that.
Yeah.
Even Egwene did not like that she had to subject Mogadine to that whenever she was captured
Yeah.
earlier in the series. But the Shan-Chan have they don't have that conscience.
No, and like they said, it's like, oh, well, you're not Aes Sedai, so I'm going to say I could take you. Because that was the deal, that they couldn't take any Aes Sedai.
So,
Yeah.
one of the things... Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, no. I was just going to say another thing that I loved about the ending was the quote from Loial. You know, it ends with a quote from his book, what he's been trying to write this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is just a beautiful way to kind of wrap things up.
Yeah. I liked his kind of panic at the end, trying to find Matt, trying to get everything while it's fresh on their minds. And he never gets. Well, I guess because we're reading the book, kind of like the ending of Lord of the Rings. You're kind of reading the story that Frodo and Bilbo and Sam wrote. Is this what we've been reading? Is this Loial's history? Yeah. And if it is, then he had to have caught up with Rand at some time. Because how would you know what Rand did with the Dark One if Loial never caught up to him? If that's what we're reading, is Loial's account of all of these last days up to the last battle, then he had to have caught up to Rand to get the details of how he fought the Dark One and sealed him.
Yeah.
Now, does this come across as playing as an ultimate seal or just this seal in the cycle?
I would have to say that it's seal in the cycle because there are 7 ages. The book takes
and we're moving
place
into the 4th.
Right. The book takes place in the 3rd, and when the Dark One is sealed, we've started the 4th. So by the time it comes back around to the 1st and 2nd age, which is when I think it's the 2nd age that they drill into the bore, they don't know about the Dark One until they drill into the bore. So I would say that it's happened time and time again, and they're eventually going to drill into the bore again, and Lews Therin will have to patch it in the 2nd age, and then Rand or the Dragon Reborn it'll all happen again. I don't think that this stop that, because the only way to stop that would be to break the wheel, and that's what Rand was not willing to do. So the wheel keeps turning, and ages will come and go again. And all of this will fade from memory, and they'll forget everything.
And our present day is their past, and our future.
Correct.
Which they definitely play with a little bit more of that. With Rand seeing the future, they're bringing in rifles and guns.
But you get some of that with Avienda's vision of the future of the Aiel when she goes to the glass towers again.
And they played with some of that in that Wheel of Time side book that Robert Jordan wrote. The history of the world. Actually, they talk about these, boxes where people would watch visions of basically TVs.
Right.
In their far past.
Well, and then some of those Turangrials that they found in Rodion that Avienda and Elaine are going through several books back during the slog, I think. How they open up one, it's a little man holding a book, and they're trying basically it's the old tongue for truth and lies, and they translate it into facts or fiction and nonfiction.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you think of like a hologram projection. That's at least that's what I thought. Like if they channeled into it just right, they could basically make this little Turon Grial act like a movie projector, and play stories or project words onto a table so that you could read, fiction and nonfiction, which would be far beyond, well, not necessarily far beyond, but a different type of technology as to what we have now. I mean, we have our phones.
Yeah. Speculation of our future,
Mm-hmm.
which would be their past, and
Right.
their past being our past. But,
Yeah.
Right.
So overall, I think it was great. Yeah, definitely worth your time.
One of the things about a book like this, how good it is all the way through. The ending is, like we've all said, is extremely satisfying. There's really, it's one of those things where even the critics can't really find a better way for it to have ended.
no.
So really, a lot of the things that I feel like we've talked about sometimes seem critical, because when you have something so good, you can talk about a few things that you don't like. But the ending is so good that you're like, well, I didn't particularly like this, but it was good.
Didn't pull me out of the book at all.
I will ask this, and mainly just because I want to tell you all my most disappointing thing about the book. But what was your most disappointing fact or event in the book?
I don't know. Matt, go for it first.
I mean, I already gave my complaints earlier, but they all got shot down. So, what was yours, Stephen?
Well, I think y'all can guess what my most disappointing thing was.
I don't know. There's so much that went on.
Fael survived.
Oh my goodness.
Come
Yeah,
on.
there was a little bit of hope. They had a little bit of hope that maybe you wouldn't. Part of the way they were reading the book was that maybe she would still be alive, but he wasn't going to find her before the book ended. I thought that's where he was going, but then he did find her.
Yeah, see,
She was kind of pointless through this whole trilogy finale.
yeah, and she in typical Fael fashion created more mayhem out of I mean, she was in a bad situation, but she created even more mayhem by, instead of going, hey, what the hell are y'all doing with that horn, and giving them a chance to explain themselves, she immediately cries, betrayal, kill them, and then the monsters attack and stuff, and Van and Harnan run off, and it just...
So I did like Oliver blowing the horn.
I did too.
It wasn't expected. I kept tying Matt to the horn, not realizing that when he died, that it passed on to the next blower. And
Right.
of course, everybody assumes Matt's the one that has to blow the horn still. And but Oliver, in desperation, blows it. Well, he just, I don't know, desperation, sadness, loneliness, whatever reason, he was alone and was about to die. He blew the horn. And that was a really good scene. I wasn't expecting it. I hadn't thought about it. I was like, I kept thinking the horn has to get back to Matt. They hear it blow, and then of course, what's her name? Birgitta coming back. Is that her death? A little shocking. Elaine in a very
Yeah.
that was very.
I thought that was very fitting and very much in line with how Elaine's character has been written. She's constantly putting herself in these terrible situations, and depending on men's prophecy, that her babies are going to be born just fine, and then what's his face comes in and it's like, I can cut him out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, aha, see it, told you, woman.
And really, I figured, Morgana was losing all of her memories of all of her past. So I figured the book would end with her regaining her abilities with the blow of the horn. I wasn't expecting her to get beheaded before that happened. Yeah. That was a little bit of a shock when that happened.
Now, help me remember. Was she fighting with a sword when that happened?
I believe so.
Okay. She has said earlier in the series that she remembers, back when she remembered a lot of her past lives, that every time that she fought a battle and had a sword, she died.
Yeah.
And then this happens, and it's like, aha! See, she picked up a sword. She didn't remember that. She had forgotten everything. She picked up a sword, and she gets killed. But,
your opinions, Matt? You've been very quiet this podcast.
No, I got nothing else to say about that. I mean, I didn't write any notes about that one, so, I mean, that's basically it.
I didn't write any notes either. I'm just talking off the top of my head.
That's fine. Yeah, I only write notes when I have something else to say.
And you finished probably, a month ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. See, it's a little bit fresher in mine and Bruce's.
No, I remember all this. I just didn't think anything more of it. I mean, I just, I had my notes, but, but I mean, like I said, overall, I thought it was great, Yeah,
absolutely. It is the finish that you can look forward to when you are going through the slog.
Oh yeah, it's definitely worth it. Yeah.
You can rest assured that your time is paid off.
Yeah.
Leaps and bounds.
This whole, three-book series to wrap it up was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, standing ovation at the end. It was fantastic.
Yeah, really was. Definitely worth your time there.
Yeah.
All right.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe people out there who have started series that never got finished can appreciate this. But I just didn't. Whenever I first read through it, and maybe even the second time, I didn't realize just how lucky we were to have somebody that was capable, more than capable, of coming in and finishing someone else's series in such a fantastic way.
Yeah.
I mean, even if a series that the main author dies before he finishes, and someone comes in and is like, okay, well, this is what I think would happen. You can tell, that's okay. That'll work. We got an ending. Not exactly how I would have done it. This,
I would say there was one standout thing.
Okay.
I can think of 0 examples of ample bosoms over the last 3 books.
Oh yeah, that kind of went away.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Is a bit more conservative. He's a Mormon, pretty devout.
But, there was the bosoms were definitely lacking in the last 3 months.
But he makes up with it with, I think, deeper character development.
Oh, it's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And comedic relief. I mean, every character got a few sprinkles more of comedy. Matt, I think the lid fell off, and he dumped a
which is what Matt needed.
Which is fine. Now Brandon will. He thinks that he screwed up Matt,
No.
and I could not disagree more.
I
think
did no wrong
that
in the last books, and it definitely was the build up for his character to everything just fell into place for him to be the leader of all the armies, which again, that's Matt. Everything falls into place. It's not logical. It just happens to be that's the one thing we have to have because of the betting odds. And
well, that
and
and,
of course,
and that's the said medallion. He can't be corrupted.
yeah,
Right.
And at that point, there is nobody else.
Yeah.
And even the head general of the Shan-Chen army, just in the few days that he's around him, is like, this guy's a genius.
Yeah, and they already did the setup that he's learned how to lose to win. And so when he first takes over, he's taking some losses, a lot of losses. But he knows that's the only way to win because they're so outnumbered.
Yeah, and it's because of him that Demon Dread is so convinced that it's Luce Theron that is leading the battle.
Yeah.
Because he's like, there's no way that there's anybody in this age. I mean, they have great captains and stuff, but he said there's no way that there's anybody in this age that knows this much, that sees all these subtleties. There's nobody that's lived long enough that can.
I will say this. I did enjoy the battles against Demon Dread, which we haven't talked too much about. First we had Glod. Well, the thing is, Glod, who threw himself away. And then we had, what's this, what the pretty boy?
Glod is White Cloak, fall second.
Okay, Glod, okay. But we had Egwene's husband find first and throw away his life. I did like the second battle.
Who was a warder? He was a warder, and he had 3 blood knife rings.
And was the
and still got his ass beat.
Yeah.
Because he was such a useless character. I have a feeling Brandon Sanderson did not like him as a character.
That's a good point.
People that like him.
But Glod, who I gained respect in his battle against him, but then Land's battle was fantastic. Because Land was just like, I didn't come here to win this. I came here to kill you.
That was awesome.
And of course, he used the technique of burying the sword. So he took the fatal blow to get the fatal blow, which thankfully there were people there to kill him.
And that goes all the way back to Rand's fight with the Shamael.
Yeah.
I think it's Shamael in book 2, up in the sky in Palma, where he uses the same technique.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, that was all good stuff. I really liked Land's battle with Demon Dread. That was just, he just was like, who are you? I was like, I'm just a man. I'm here to kill you.
He had the Foxhead medallion too.
I don't think so, did he?
Glod had one of the copies of the medallion. I don't think Land did.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he got it. No, it was Loyal that found Glod, not Land.
Yeah, Loyal found
Because
Glod was on the back.
Loyal followed Land up there. He's like, I need to witness this. I need to watch this so that I can comment on it.
He saw Land headed out to battle. He was just like, he wanted to see the fall of the king. He was like, he was assuming Land was going to fall, and it was be super important for his book. But he had to witness it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff all around. Like every character got a good ending. And that's a great feat for someone who had so many characters that had to get wrapped up.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. I like the POV from Tan, Rand's father, and then getting getting the nod of approval from Lan. He's like, I kind of wondered how a sheep herder from ended up with a Herrenmark blade, and wondered if he actually deserved it. And yeah, he did. So,
I would say, I like the way they, wrap that story up, because you have that mystery the whole time. And, part of me,
we've lost you, Bruce.
Yeah, we've lost you, Bruce. Whatever happened, he's kind of been out now.
Getting to him.
Oh, yeah, there you are. You got to say that again, Bruce.
Yeah, you're gonna have to say that again. You winked out completely.
Well, there was, I had a problem from the beginning. It was like, when did Rand's dad, when did Tam-Althor have time to study to become a swordmaster, to get the Herrenmark blade?
Right.
And of course, they throw out that he's like, when he was asked, he's like, well, I killed a man in a battle, and that's how he earned it, which is one of the ways they set up early in the book series to get one. You have to study or kill someone who has. And so that's, I thought that was, it explained a hole that I had.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that you see throughout the series is that the quote-unquote blade masters are of a greatly varying degree of skill. Because, I mean, in book 2, when Rand has only been studying swordplay for, about 8-9 months, kills a
A lot of
blade
that
master.
up to his Taviran, nature.
Yeah, I suppose.
Those early books, I give a lot to the Taviran nature, just pushing the pattern in its proper way.
Yeah.
But he did eventually earn it and become it, because at that point he had barely studied anything.
Yeah.
But like everything he learned, he was able to use to perfection. I think they kind of like Matt, in the series, he just does the right thing. He's got the ability because he learned these proper moves once or twice, and because of Taviran nature, it pushes that forward, and that's what he just happens to do.
Yeah. I do. I mean, Matt's is explained that. I mean, he has plot armor with his luck, definitely. And
Which I would say, at the end of the series, we know Rand is no longer Taviran. Perrin assumes that he is no longer Taviran, but are they? There's no give or take to that at all. We know, Matt is going to gamble with his life with his wife, and but there's just I like the openness of the ending a lot.
yeah,
I'm not complaining about it at all.
I think it's assumed that they're no longer Taviran,
Yeah.
but
So will Matt be able
and
to?
really, is there any reason for them to be Taviran? I would say no. But
Not for them. We'll move on to the next people that in the next cycle.
yeah, well, I guess it's never really explained. If what the pattern has, the wheel is basically creating a Taviran to correct the pattern. Once that correction has been made, do the people the Tavirans that it spits out to do that, do they cease to be Taviran once the correction has
I mean, it makes sense that Rand lost his Taviranness when he moved into another body, even though his girls can still sense him. They can still, they know he's still there. Cadwayne is pretty sure he's still there.
Yeah, Cadwayne definitely knows.
I
I liked her ending. I really did. I kind of it's one of those things where like no, you're gonna be
He's
the
punished by becoming the leader.
exactly. Like she needed some kind of punishment for what she's done, because I mean, even though what she did was necessary for Rand to get to where he was, the way that she went about it was so wrong, and what she did to him was unfair. So I feel like she needed some kind of punishment, but also the punishment is to become one of the most powerful women in the world.
Yeah,
and it's something that she desperately did not want. She's been running from it her entire life, basically. And I thought that was a very fitting, bittersweet ending for her.
Yeah, indeed.
So, Matt, anything? You're very, very quiet.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys are covering everything, so I mean, there's nothing else.
What's your opinion?
No, I mean, I mean that's all true. I agree with it. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. All right.
Are we done here?
Yeah, I guess so. Good book. We almost told the whole story. I think we didn't miss anything this time.
I mean, figured out.
I would say the thing is, I finished this book last night. I stayed up till 2:00 listening to it just because kids were down. I would have finished this book 2 days ago, except for I got sent home from work. So, and but then I stayed up late after the kids went to bed and listened to it. And then I re-listened to the last 3 hours today. Yeah. Well, the thing is, there was a lot going on. That's why
yeah.
I didn't fully grasp all that was going on the first listen. It was late. That didn't help. But at the same time, I couldn't stop listening. So, I was like, I'll just re-listen to it again tomorrow. Keep going.
I wondered if you were going, so like all the other books, as soon as you're done with it, you're wanting to talk about it so that it's fresh on your mind and you can move on. I wondered if you wanted to wait a day or two after you finish this one to help, let it sink in and marinate and kind of think it through.
What I wanted to finish this book. I wanted to listen to the 2 short stories. But after listening to the end, I was like, I gotta listen to that again. There's too much going on. I got that right. Which, again, I'm glad I did, because some of the stuff I misinterpreted the first time. But it was also super late when I was finishing. And, of course, the short stories were short, but, also I thought, Perrin Clearing the Ways, recommend. It's sad that it's not part of the story anymore. But, that was Brandon Sanderson saying, he's like, he felt like Jordan wanted to end the series in some way with the cleansing of the ways, but they couldn't get it to work. They just never, they said Harriet didn't think it worked properly for the characters, and, they just let it go.
Yeah.
So the ways are not cleared at the end of the series.
You have so many channelers by the end. I mean, even though hundreds and hundreds of them died, you still have a lot of channelers. You've got the Black Tower. You've got the cleansing of Sidene. So you get male channelers and female channelers. And is there a need for the ways now?
No,
because
there's no need.
The male Aes Sedai created the ways as a gift to the Ogier for harboring them after the taint on Sidene. And that's why the ways eventually became corrupted, was because of the taint on Sidene. So here's another thought. Well, first, now that siding is cleansed, is there even a reason or a need for the ways because you have so many channelers that can travel?
True.
And two,
Well,
would the ways eventually be cleansed anyway because the taint is gone?
possibly. Though the thing is, I would say the interesting way they cleansed the ways in the book was it really ended when the Ogiers came in. Perrin brought in the Ogiers, and they started singing, and their song is actually their song that built up was actually what actually cleansed it.
Okay.
Which they were finding that old song that they had lost, and
Yeah. Now, speaking of songs, sorry, the Tuathuan, who are constantly, they're called the head of each band of Tuathuan, is called the Seeker, and they're looking for the song,
yeah.
and they never find the song.
Which I think Brandon was trying to work on that, because I kept being reminded of that during the last 3 books, but it never went there. And I think that's where he was going with this side story. And definitely when I listened to that cut portion, I was like, I think that's where he was going with that. He just never got to finish it and work it out.
Okay.
I think that was part of it.
Was it that, or was it the song that Rand was singing when he caused things to grow?
Yeah,
Remember the scene between him and Matt?
Yeah.
Whenever he, comes into the garden after Matt and Tuan have their little tryst.
I'm sure it's all related.
And things are growing, and the peach blossoms are falling and stuff. And Matt's like, Rand, are you singing? And Rand, oh, I think I am. So is that the song that the Tuathuan are looking for? Or is it the Ogier song that can cleanse the ways and cause trees to grow? Is that the song that they've been looking for?
Which I guess, in a way, it's a good, non-specific, open-ended ending to something from the series.
I do find it a little bit sad that, so many people get closure, so many things get resolved at the end, and the most peaceful of all people, they don't get their song.
A little bit we get with them is there was some argument between some of them about, there was a husband that was talking about, well, I can understand why they fight. And the wife was mad at him about it.
Yeah.
That was the only bit we got with them.
Mm-hmm. But whenever they were going through and trying to find the still living and take them back to
Yeah. All right.
man, I heard, man.
No, y'all got a lot to say. Go for it. I mean, that's fine. Usually I'm the one carrying the conversation, but y'all got it.
I know. We expect you to fill in the gaps when everything's
No, you shot me down on all my notes, so you didn't want to hear my notes. So, yeah, no, y'all got a lot of good things, though.
So we can argue against them.
Yeah.
You already did. You said, no, that was
We can go all
stupid.
night, man.
So, but that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. So there you go. Great series. I agree. Overall.
No trouble making
worth
time
it.
on this one.
Oh, we're way over time. Way over time. This is the
I
longest
think we're going for about
Prince
an
of
hour.
the Universe one. We're way over an hour now. So, but yeah, okay. Well, let's just end it there then. All
All
right.
right. So are we going to do a live Q&A?
Yeah, we'll do one.
What
We'll do
percent?
one later, folks. We'll be back later on. We'll do a Q&A with all of us here, and you'll be able to ask any of us questions on the Wheel of Time series. If you haven't finished them all, I'm sorry. There's still going to be spoilers at the Q&A. But we'll see you next time on Princes of the Universe.